So instead of 4, we have negative 4. All right. So here, okay. So here we have to solve that equation. And again, the steps are exactly the same. Namely, we have to isolate x. So what do? We add 7 to both sides. And we get 2 over 3 times x equals 3, because we're adding 7 to both sides. So we have 2 over 3 times x equals 3. So that's what we get. Now, we want to get x all alone. So what do we do next? Well, just like before, we divide by 2/3. That is, from here, we have 2 over 3 times x is 3. We can divide both sides by 2/3. What happens? This cancels with this. These two cancel. And we get x equals 3 divided by 2/3. All right, great, great. And what happens here? What is 3 divided by 2/3? It's not the best. It's really not the best way to leave your final answer as, but we can make this easier to read. That is, this becomes 3 divided by 2/3, as you can see. Okay? But when you divide a fraction, you're multiplying by its reciprocal. In other words, this division becomes multiplication. The 2/3 will become 3/2. So now we multiply. And of course, how do you multiply a number with a fraction? You multiply the number with the numerator. Let me say it again. Let me clarify. If you have an integer like 3 times a fraction, you multiply the numerators together. So you get 3 times 3 divided by 2, which of course is 9 over 2. So that's what we get here. So 9 over 2, the other again, 33 over 2 and 9 over 2, those are the two solutions. Are there any questions about that? I mean, in the past, I've gone over fractions. I didn't do that this semester, so. I mean, theoretically, you're supposed to know that coming into 104, so. Let's do another equation. Sorry, not equation, what am I saying? Now we can solve this. An absolute value inequality. So here we have the absolute value of 3x plus 4 less than 9. And remember, from an absolute value inequality, you actually get a compound inequality. That is, you're going to get 2 inequalities here, as you can see. Right? The absolute value of 3x plus 4 less than 9, that becomes 3x plus 4 less than 9 and greater than negative 9. Less than 9, greater than negative 9. So we have this compound inequality to solve. Some people in the past, what they would do is they would solve other inequalities like 3x plus 4 positive, 3x plus 4 less than 9, 3x plus 4 less than 0, 3x plus 4 negative 9. They would solve each of those 4 individually and then combine their answers. This is really all I'm looking for. You know, don't make it harder than necessary, is what I'm trying to say. We just have these two to solve. We don't have to worry about if 3x plus 4 is positive or negative. We don't care about that for now. This is all we care about. Okay, so what do? Well, we want to get x all alone in the middle. That's what we want to do, right? Get x all alone in the middle. So subtract 4 from each side, okay? Like so. We get 3x is less than 5, greater than negative 13, okay? Right, because we subtracted 4. Now, how do we get x all alone? We don't want 3x, we want x. Well, we can divide both sides by 3. That's what we do. Dividing both sides by 3, right? We get x all alone is less than 5/3, greater than negative 13 over 3. So x is all alone. We have our interval. We have, notice it's strict inequality. So for the interval, we're going to have parentheses, as you can see. We have negative 13 over 3 to 5 over 3. That's what we have. We don't have, again, so we have parentheses because we have strict inequality. We're not including the endpoints. We're not graphing the solution set either. That is, we're not graphing the interval. Okay. What was I going to say? Okay. Also notice we did not flip the inequalities because we're not multiplying or dividing by a negative. That's when you flip them. Are there questions on this one? Okay, here's another one. So here we have the absolute value of minus 6 times x plus 1 is less than or equal to 11. And again, there's only really 2 inequalities you have to solve from here. Because from here you get these two. You get negative 6x plus 1 less than or equal to 11, greater than or equal to negative 11. You only have these 2 inequalities to solve. That's what we get. So we have these 2 inequalities to solve, and we do that by solving a compound inequality. Again, you don't have to worry about negative 6x plus 1 greater than 0, less than 0. You don't have to worry about those things. These are the only 2 you solve. The only 2 inequalities, that's right. And what do? We get x all alone. So we subtract 1 from each side, right? We want to get x all alone. We're getting the 1 out of there. We subtract 1 from each side. We get negative 6x is less than or equal to 10, greater than or equal to negative 12, as you can see. And so from here we get negative 6x like so. And what do? We divide by negative 6. Divide everything by negative 6. And when you divide, notice the inequalities get flipped. You turn them around. You turn them around, as you can see. Because we're dividing everything by a negative. If you divide or multiply by a negative, you turn the inequality around. Okay, so we get x in the middle greater than or equal to 10 over negative 6. X is less than or equal to 2. And here I just basically wrote it so that the smaller numbers on the left and the bigger numbers on the right and the inequalities are still correct, right? Notice the endpoints. Here we have negative 10 over 6 less than or equal to x. X less than or equal to 2. It's almost like here you're reading from right to left, but here I'm reading from left to right. And since these are not strict inequality, we use brackets here, square brackets, as you can see, for our interval. Okay, but again, I've seen people, when they're solving this, they would do something like negative 6x plus 1 greater than or equal to 0, and less than or equal to 11, then less than 0. you only have to solve these two inequalities. That's all I'm looking for. Don't worry about comparing this to 0. You're only making it, you're only doing more, you're only doing unnecessary work. Okay, I think that might be, oh no, I'm wrong. I thought I was done. Okay. This was just a, remember, this is the quadratic formula also. Well, actually, I forgot to say this. Are there any questions on this? Okay. And remember, for the quadratic formula, I mean, you don't have to memorize it. To use it, you need to get A, your B and C, and your quadratic has to equal to 0, as you can see. So we get A is 1, B is -5, right? Just by comparing, right? A is the coefficient of x squared. B is the coefficient of x, include the negative sign. C is the coefficient of 3. And excuse me, C is the constant term. And when you plug it into the quadratic formula, as you can see, and we get our numbers. That's what we get here. So again, you have A is 1, right? I'm just plugging in. B is -5, right? -5. -5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 3 over 2 times 1. Notice this whole top is above 2 times 1. Okay? You know, you want to make sure you do that. And these are the answers we get. Okay, that's actually that's all the time I have. So if there are no other questions, we'll stop here. Again, I'll do my best to get the exams graded by today. I'm not making any promises because, you know, I want to post your final so it's available tomorrow. So, all right.